welcome back to my channel. I've had the pleasure of making this little Zara double zip wallet by RLR Creations. Rachel asked me to be a tester for this pattern, so thank you so much for including me in the testers for this wallet. It's been a pleasure to do. This is such a great little wallet, and it's a real good scrap buster because you've got a little tiny bit of vinyl, but it can be fabric as well, so it doesn't have to be vinyl. And then you've got your fabric on the outside, and this is where the magic happens when you unzip it, because you have two pockets. One's got 6 card slots to put your cards in, and then you've got a zipper pocket for your change. I know I've done it all in the same fabric this time, just because it was for my son and he liked it. So, but you've got your 6 individual card slots here, and then you've got your coin purse here. Rachel talks you through it step by step, and there's lots of good notes in it as well, so take notice of those. I did, and you will notice halfway through the video, I did have my zips on the wrong way. Rachel explains it in the pattern. My kids were fighting and I lost my train of thought and didn't realise, but I did manage at some point, and you can see in the video, I did manage to take my zip off and put it back on again, so not a problem, it was sorted. But if not, being on the other side doesn't matter, because if you've got one print this side, because Rachel also shows you how to use 2 different pieces of fabric, so you can have one side with one zip one side and the other with the other, and then you know, remember what's in your wallet. So if you'd like to see how this lovely little wallet is made, then please please watch the video, and if you like it, please leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please do. Yeah, enjoy making. Bye. Right, so we're going to need piece A and the contrast piece C. First of all, we're going to find the middle of A, and then we're going to also find the middle of the sides. I do little B's, just little ones, so it helps. I don't have to look for the pen mark. And taking your ruler, we are going to mark the line that is given in the pattern, and we are going to fold up to that line, not at that line. So a bit of glue or a bit of tape will help here, just to keep it flat so you can get it to your sewing machine. So we're folding up to the line, not at the line. Clips to help keep the glue sticking. And then again on the other side, so we're folding up to the line, not at the line. My glue doesn't want to stick today. So once you've folded that over, you then want to get your A piece, and we want to find the middle, and I find it easier to draw a line down the middle and then draw a line each side. and then you should find that this piece will then fit nicely in between those lines. So, a little bit more glue down. And then what we're going to do is take it to our machine and stitch along it. And then once your glue's dried, I'm going to machine along both of these long edges. So making sure our stitch length is back to the top stitch length, we're going to top stitch along the edge here. And that is now your front piece done. So that is now your front piece done. We are now going to go on to the next step. Right, so we're now going to do the next bit, which is we need our pieces B for, and we're going to mark the amount in the pattern. Right, so now we want piece B, and we want to measure up the distance in the pattern just across by the tabs so that we can get a little line. And then what we want to do is we're going to cut just here like that. So with your scissors, you cut down to the line on all the pieces. So we're just cutting along here in the corners. And then with some more glue, we are going to take this tab now and fold it to that line. The glue just helps keep it till we get it to the sewing machine. Again, if you don't want to use glue, you could use double-sided tape. You want to make sure you've cut right up to that line so you get a nice smooth turnover. If when you go to do it like I just did and it didn't fit smoothly, just tiny little bit more of a cut. You can always add more, you can't take it away once you've cut it. And then what we'll do is we will take it to the sewing machine, and then you're going to sew this tiny little square here on all 4 pieces. Right, so now we're just going to sew all 4 of these around the little square, making sure you've got your top stitch length. Right, so that's all the 4 bits of that done. So you can pop your B pieces away to one side. It's folded in half, and now we're going to top stitch across here and across here, with the seam allowance that is in the pattern. Back down to construction length stitch, remembering to start and stop. Back stitch at the beginning and end, and then what you're going to do is you can just trim the corners down ever so slightly. That just removes some of the bulk, but don't cut into your seams. And then what you're going to do is turn it inside out. And then give it a good press with the iron, and then using your construction length stitch, we're just going to top stitch around the sewn edges, the sealed edges even. So I'm going to do that to the other 7 pieces, and I will be back. Right, once you've done all your D bits, I did them all off. I did the other 7 off camera because they're pretty easy and repetitive to do. You'll need your interior B pieces, and you'll need them right side up. You'll need with your B pieces right side up, you are going to need a marker pen, a fabric marker that will rub off, and we measure down the distance in the pattern from the edge. Let me run it up on a run. And then taking your D piece, making sure you've got a nice smooth edge there, you're going to place it at that line, and then you're just going to clip it, and then you're going to take it to the machine, sewing machine, and just baste it. You can always check to make sure you've got your top stitch in the right way round. And it's worth making sure that you are really accurate with all your measurements when you cut it out. Make it much easier, an assembly much easier if you've done a good job at the cutting out and all your seam allowances are spot on. I've made a couple of these now, and doing this one now I've realised that I've taken a slightly, in the others I've taken a slightly smaller seam allowance than is required in the pattern, so these bits have been a bit bigger than I've made them in the past. Right, so now you're going to take them to the machine and you're just going to stitch along all of these edges with just a small stitch just to baste them. Right, so you go back to construction length stitch, starting and stopping, back stitching at the start and finish even. Right, now we're going to put that away and we're going to go on to the next step. Taking our piece E's, I folded them in half and ironed them already. We are now just going to stitch along the unfolded side. Remembering to start and stop at the back stitch. Okay, so this one I haven't quite taken the full seam allowance on, so I'm going to run it back under, making sure I give it the right seam allowance. As you can see, I was just a smidge off, and you don't want to be. You want to make sure that your seam allowances are spot on, because it will make all the difference. So I'm going to turn it through. It will be a little bit difficult because you've got the interfacing, and then what you want to do is going to iron it flat, and then we're going to top stitch. So I'll just turn the others through off camera and give them a press, and then we'll be back to top stitch. Right, with your 3 pieces that have now been turned, we are going to top stitch, so back up to top stitching length, and we're just going to top stitch here and along here. Do that top and bottom. Right, so now we are going to fold them in half, and we're going to cut them along that line. Fold them in half. And providing all the measurements are correct, they should measure the distance in the pattern. Right, so now we're going to want piece F, which is your accordion sides. You're going to fold it in half, right sides together, and we are going to stitch it with the seam allowance given in the pattern. I'm going to stitch it with the seam allowance given in the pattern. So now you're going to want to, now you've stitched that, you're going to want to turn it inside out. No, right way round even. See, can't even get my words right. So then we're going to take that to the iron, give that a press, and then I will come back. So I'll take these to the iron and I'll be right back. Right, now we've given those a press, we are going to top stitch along all the sides. Right, so my sewing machine ate my bobbin or who knows what, so I've sorted that out. So we're going to top stitch the second F accordion side. I have cut mine a smidge bigger than the pattern, so I'm not top stitching right to the edge because I like just a little bit more to play with, because I've got silly fingers that don't always work. And actually this is a hidden seam on the sides when your purse is finished, when it's finished. Right, so now what we need to do is we need to find the middle. That's your middle mark. Now you're going to want to come out the amount in the pattern each side, and then you're going to do it twice more. And then what you're going to do is you are going to, at each line you drew, fold it over. You're not going to do the middle mark, so you'll have 3 folds and the middle one will remain unfolded. Then you're going to take it to the iron and give it a good press so that those lines sit in. So you do that with the other piece and I'll be right back. You're going to need your accordion pieces that you have ironed and your card slots. Just making sure that they're nice and even and no fray ends. What you're going to do is literally slide in line it up and slide it on. So you're going to line it up and slide it on and then clip it. And then you're going to do the same again for the next one. See, it's not quite even, so I'm just going to even it up. And then pop it on, pop it in. Right, so we'll take that to the machine and we'll stitch it with the seam allowance. Right, so we're going to take our accordion sides that we folded and our card pocket dividers, and you're going to slide one inside the folded edge of the bit, and then you're going to stitch that down once it's in nice and snugly. Using the seam allowance stated in the pattern. And then again, take your piece and fold it over. pattern says in the pattern, if you come back down some to the middle, you can cut your tails off there, and that leaves the end free of any threads. So you're lining it up with the line, folding it over, and then stitching, making sure you move the others out of the way. Again, making sure you use the correct stitch length. So you're lining up to the fold, so when you turn it over, it is in the fold. Stitch with the seam allowance in the pattern. Okay. And the last one on this side. So now you can snip all these sides off, and now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but on this side now. I'm going to pop them in, so that I'll be back when I've done them for you. Right, now we're on to the very last one. So as you can see, it's forming the accordion bit. So now I'm going to line that up, fold that over, and then stitch that with the same seam allowance. So now I'm going to take that, as you can see you've got your buttons on there, take that to the iron, give it a press down to make sure it all folds in, and then I'll be back and we can get on to the next one, which is the zipper pockets. Right, now we're going to take our G pieces and our number 3 zip. It's really important you use a number 3 zip here because it is a very small pocket, and if you use a number 5, you're not going to do it. It's going to be too big. I have also interfaced both sets of my G pieces because I was trying to be clever and I block fused the fabric. It is doable, it just makes the pocket stiffer. It has more give in it if it doesn't have interfacing in both. So you're going to place your lining piece down right side up with your zipper tape right side up, and then your outer right side down. Wrong. So you're going to start with your lining fabric right side up, zipper tape wrong side up on the fabric, and then that, and your outside fabric face down. So when you turn it, your fabrics are like that. So I'm going to stitch that with the amount in the pattern, seam allowance in the pattern. I have put my zipper foot on. I've I've never used before. It's gone a bit. Right. So move those two out of the way, and then you're going to top stitch. There, and then you're going to take your lining piece, your right side up, your zipper tape wrong side down, and then you're going to take your other piece and place it right side up. And I'm just checking that my ends meet up. Just checking that the ends meet so that we match when we turn it over. Oh, my foot pedal's gone too far that way. Over, and then we're going to top stitch. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take both the lining pieces or exterior and both the lining pieces, you're going to clip them together, and then you're going to stitch along the bottom using the seam allowance given in the pattern. Right, so now I'm going to stitch along here using the seam allowance in the pattern. And then again on the other side using the seam allowance in the pattern. Right, this is where the magic now happens, and we are going to turn the zip in the right way through. It's where it is easier if you haven't interfaced all your G pieces like you're meant to not meant to in the pattern, but you know. said, you can see it is a tiny little pocket. So you just need to be patient. Right. So I'm going to go and give that a press and I'll be back. A little tip that I found when doing it is if you keep the zipper longer and you pull on the end, you can, I've put one seam this way, one seam that way, and I can also iron it flat before I cut the zips. So then I can get a nice flat zipper pocket. So then making sure your zip is inside. Just means we can't pull our zipper pull off accidentally. And then taking your scissors, cut off the excess tape, and you now have your little zipper pocket. I mean, how ditty and cute is that? I mean, it's lovely, isn't it? That's so cute. It's so tiny. Right, so now we'll go on to the next step. Right, so now we're going to do our zippers. So add our zipper pulls to our zipper tape. Tape, what we're going to do is find the middle and mark it. This is an air erasable pen. Again, middle of this one. I'm just going to burn the ends. Just stops them from fraying. So now what we want to do, so now we've got our zips and we found our middle, we are now going to mark the distance in the pattern on just one of the zipper, tops of the zipper tape, on one of them and then the other one. You don't need to do both. This is to help you turn it. Now this is where I do this little bit a little bit different, but we all have our own way of doing it. What we basically want to do is we want to fold this zipper tape here at a right angle. So I just pinch and bring it round. And then you can add a pin in. Okay, so that's one side. And again, I pinch it on that side and then I just move it up. So you've got the curve. And then when I've done all four, I will take it to the machine and I will machine stitch them. Rachel says about hand stitching them in the instructions. It's entirely up to you, whatever works for you. It's one of those, we all have a way of doing it. This is just my way of doing it. So I literally pinch it and move it round. So they're now at right angles. So what I'm going to do is go to the machine and sew them. I'm using white thread. Right, so now I'm just going to stitch down that bit. Oh, there's the ice cream man. And so this is just the way I like to do mine. Everyone, there's lots of different ways of doing this. Oh, that's probably going to stab me now. Right, so now we've done our zips, what we want to do is we want to take them to the machine and right, so now we've done those corners, we now want to just move our zip very carefully past there. To just tack the ends, and this just stops us from accidentally pulling our zip off. So if we now pull that all the way round, so you haven't stitched into the zipper tape at all, because you still need to be able to move your zip along. You just bar tack the ends so you've got your zip. Again on this one. I just want to go backwards. Believe me, it's worth doing this step just so that you don't lose your zipper off the end. I do apologise for any noise you can hear. My son's playing in the garden and it's quite warm, so I've got the window open. Right, so now you want to place these on your work surface. It says, there we go. So now, yeah, I do apologise if you can hear anything. My son's playing in the garden. So now you want to place these on your work surfaces, and you want the zips on the same side. You want the zips to be facing the same side. That's quite important. And as long as you remember when you've put them on, and if you get confused, check the zippers both need to be on the same side. So now we need to get our piece A. So we're going to take piece A, which we've already found the middle of, and we are going to put right. I forgot to add the marks on the straight zipper, so I've just added those in, same as when we did that one. What we're going to do is take piece A right side up. I'm going to take zip the wrong side down, and we're going to line up the two lines. Using pins here may be more helpful. And then at the corner with the other line that we marked, we're going to line it up with the contrast, just before the contrast bit. And again, just with the contrast bit, line them up. I do apologise, they're fighting over the laptop and who plays on it. The joys of one laptop between 3 children. Now we're just going to fold this round. We're doing the side that hasn't got the tucks in. I'm not used to using pins. And then we're going to sew that. So take that to the machine, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew that with a slight so I'm going to sew that with a slightly smaller seam allowance, just because we will be sewing another bit on top. So if you've got a slightly smaller seam allowance, it just means that it's not going to show if you don't get it right all the way round. Slow and steady. Pointy thing. So just slow and steady round. Might find it easier with a zipper foot or a narrow foot. Come round. All the way around to the corner and stop. I do apologise, as I said, they're fighting. Now, you will take one of your B pieces, the piece without the foam on. Oh, look. Got to make our holes. Found your centres. We want to match our centres up. And again, go down and match our corners up. Sandwiching the zip between it. So if you pin in the middle and then work your way round. Oh, broken clip. Right, so now if you have done the full seam allowance, you'll turn it over and follow the seam allowance, but as I didn't do the full seam allowance before, I will do it now. Making sure that we don't catch the zip in the inside. Now the moment of truth. Did we catch it all, or have we caught the zipper in it? Oh, actually that's quite a nice, it's a little bit puckered, but that's okay by me. While we've turned it in, I'm going to give it a press. Just going to zip the zip up, just so that it doesn't get in the way. Actually, that's not too bad. So right, so now all you do is you repeat exactly the same thing again, just making sure that you keep this one out of the way. So I will show you again. So you want the side without the curves on. That goes right side up, that goes wrong side down, and then you line them up. Line up at the contrast, and then round. I have to say, I do find it a little easier having the zip zipped to start with and then unzipping it before I sew, just because it gives you a little bit of tension to work with. And then when I go to, before I go to stitch it, just unzip it. Again, I'm going to take a smaller seam allowance than is needed, so that think I've caught the zipper pull in this one. Oh no. It's even better than the other one actually. So now you've got both sides. I'm going to zip this back up just so that it's not all in the way. Now then, I'm going to go and give this a good press now, and I'll be right back. Right, now I've given it a press, what we're going to do is finish off the contrast bits. We want to move all this out of the way. What we're going to do is bring this over. So again with a bit of glue, we're going to move it and we're going to fold this down to the exterior seam. We're just folding away any raw edges. Again, this side, glue. Who doesn't love a bit of glue? And then just folding it over, making sure that we've got no raw edges sticking out from the side. It's all light, so your contrast now has no raw edges to it. I'm going to take that to the machine and we're going to top stitch here and here, and then we're going to top stitch all the way around here and then round here. So we're going to do this, stop, do this, and then we're going to go round one and then round the other. Right, so I've gone back to my grey fabric, grey top stitch. Forgot my Teflon foot. Right, gone back to my Teflon foot because I'm on the vinyl. Back up to top stitch length. When you do this, you want to make sure that all your zips and everything are all out of the way. Okay, so we've top stitched here. We're now going to go around and top stitch all around here, making sure that the unzip, make it easier, flatter, making sure that the tabs extend outwards. And making sure that everything is out of the way and your tabs are sticking outwards and you're on your top stitching length. Again, move everything out of the way and zip the zip up so that it doesn't get all lost. size flats. So, and making sure your tabs are out. And top stitch all the way round. That back up, and that is now your A attached to your B. Now we're going to do the slightly more tricky part. Right, now taking one of your B pieces, making sure that your tabs are all nicely inside, taking one of your B pieces, back and bits with there on, bring it up to the centre of your zip. Now come round so that the corner bit is on the side there, like so. And then pop the zipper tape to the fabric. Again on here. So your zipper tape is now attached. I can unzip it now. I always find it easier to add the zipper while it's done and then just undo it. Right, I've gone back to my zipper foot and I have gone back to my white thread because that is the colour of my zip. Now, it's very important to do the whole seam allowance. Where's my pointy thing? No. Slow and steady, and try not to get yourself pinned by the I use my hemostats a lot because I haven't got much strength in my thumbs and my fingers, so my hemostats work as a good. That's your zip done. Right, so now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Now zip shut. So, making sure they're in, and they're in. Knit up your two. And then come round, make sure your corners meet. So making sure you line up the corners with the corner of the tape you turned over. Right, now let's unzip it again. Much easier with clips than pins. Pins can be a bit easier because it's quite small. Now I'm going to sew this up again. Slow and steady wins the race. Make sure that your corners match up with your turned corner. I don't like to cut my zips because I'm always frightened that they may fray, and then my zip will fall out. That's another one on. Right, as I said, I messed up and I've got my pulls on the opposite side. So as I've got quite a bit of zipper tape left, I'm going to try something. It's probably going to backfire and it's probably not going to work, but let's try it. I want my zipper pull. Right, let's try this way. Okay, so I saved it. So because I've got enough of the zipper tape, I've got to cut some off now. What I did was I took my zip off and I put it back on again, so they are both on the same side. So you can try that if you want, or you can just leave them on the other side, whichever works for you. Now we are going to need to put these inside. Now they're a little bit long, so just cut off some. It does tell you in the instructions how much. It doesn't work. Oh, it's still a bit long. So what you want to do now is you want to make sure that your zips stay within your seam, your inside. So let's just tack those back closed. Going to sew those two. Again, Rachel shows you a couple of ways of doing it in the instructions. It's just the way I found it easier. I don't like hand sewing unless I really have to, so I am literally just going to tack these on. Here, so that basically they're not gonna, your zipper pulls aren't gonna pull out when you're opening and closing your purse. So now we're coming to the hardest part trickiest part. So I've tacked so that that won't fall off, and due to my cheat they're both facing the right way. Bonus. Right now we've got to attach these two and fold them over. So this is where it takes a little bit of preparation, and Rachel gives you a few different ideas within the pattern as to what to do. Now I'm going to run some glue along here, fold that down. One thing you don't want to do is cut your zipper tape. You can cut your fabric, but not your zipper tape, because if you cut your zipper tape, then your zipper tape can fray and all come undone. Now this is a really important bit to make sure you do. I have done a couple and, you know, I was like, oh, I don't need to do this bit, I'm sure I'll do it fine, and it's a struggle. So I'm going to follow the instructions. I'm just taking out some of the bulk in this corner. Folding the zip over. Put the glue in here. All about making sure it's all down nicely, all folded down. This side. Preparation is the key. Let's take this corner out. I'm not cutting the zipper tape, I am just cutting the fabric. Right, let's fold that down. Again, it may feel like an unnecessary step. It really isn't. It's very necessary. But Rachel gives you lots of different techniques that you can use on this bit. Reduce a bit of the bulk. And then Rachel also gives you a few techniques of how to put it back in, how to do this next step. You can hand stitch it, you can yeah, there's lots of different ways. So I am going to try my hand at the machine stitching, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to go down to the hand stitching. I don't really like hand stitching. Gotta love a bit of glue. Try and remove as much bulk as you can. Let's give that glue a few minutes to dry, and then I'll be back. So I've got my knee lift on, my stitch length, start and stop. Oh yes, I kept my whites thread in today. Yay! Oh yes. Oh my goodness, happy dance. That's the best yet. Oh, that's amazing. Do you know what? No, I'm gonna leave it. You could, maybe if you felt brave, then just stitch all the way round. But actually, I'm really quite impressed with that. I can take that. That's yeah. So now we want to pull our zips out from inside. Put our flaps in, because you know we don't want our flaps hanging out. Don't worry if this seems like a big hole at the moment. Once we've added the rest in, it really won't be. I'll take that. definitely worth making sure that you've done all your corners properly. And my cheat even worked to put my zippers on the same way. Bonus. I did try that on another one and it messed it up completely. So, you know, it is entirely done at your own discretion. Right. Right, now we've got 2 more steps to go and we've finished. So I pressed my accordion down so that it would lie nice and flat. Now we are going to take one corner, we are going to line them up like so, and we're going to stitch it. And do the same on that one. I'm going to do the same there, and we'll do the same on the other side as well. Just take it to the machine. Right, so now we want to take our pocket, and the raw edge is enclosed because that's the side that we put it on. I'm going to put it down. We want to stitch down. Making sure we haven't got anything else trapped in there. And again on this side, again line them up, put them underneath. Again, sorry, my son is outside playing with a Nerf gun. And then again here. Again, using the seam allowance required. So that's all your accordions in now. So if you just spend a few seconds just folding it up nicely, and then bringing the zip round. Okay, and that's now, see how that bulks out. And now we want to get our zipper pocket, a little zipper pocket. Make sure our zip's in the middle. First of all, we want to stitch down these sides. And then we want to get our zip and pop it between. You might find it easier not to zip up. And then using the seam allowance given in the pattern. Right, so then you want to seam these two up. And then again, butting those in. Sew it with the seam allowance in the pattern. And then you move it in and give it a bit of a wiggle and a jiggle. And there you go. You've done it. Well done. What I suggest is zipping it up and then taking it to the steam iron and giving it a good steam with it all folded up so that everything can be where it needs to be. So then when you go to use it, of course I've got to cut the spare threads. I mean, the other thing you could do if you really wanted, just if it wasn't quite lying flat enough, stick some glue in there, just glue it down. That's extra, that's not in the pattern, that's just me saying that. But if you're really worried about it not sitting right, well done, you've done it.